Today's vlog is going to be a bit different, and you will understand it as we tell you exactly what has happened throughout the day. The good news is everything is fine now. It's just that earlier today it was very touch and go, at least due to Diana and I not really fully understanding what was going on, and that was probably the worst of the experience. Jedi right now is napping behind us, and she is fine. She's quote-unquote normal, though as I alluded to yesterday, she's a bit sick. I thought I heard her coughing much like I used to cough as a kid, and it sounded a lot like she had the croup, which turns out to be the assessment from medical professionals. So, it's been a very, very trying day. It's been a very long day. Diana and I are tired. We have definitely shed a few tears and are still shaken, but a lot of the adrenaline, thank goodness, is gone. The situation is behind us, but I needed to kind of lay that out before I continued. So anyway, effectively what had happened was Jedi woke up this morning and she had a fever, like 98, 99, and 8, and she was kind of normal, but her voice was raspy and she was still a little congested. She took a nap, and when she woke up I took her temperature again, and with the same thermometer it was registering at like 100.7, and I had never seen the thermometer go that high, certainly not with Jedi. She's only been sick one other time, but never like this. So I told Diana, even this morning, like at 5:30, Jedi was kind of stirring. She was, restless and sleeping. And I told her, Diana, I was like, we have to get her checked out today. So we were kind of planning on doing it anyway, but this kind of accelerated it. And so we ended up calling, and it was suggested by the practitioner that if the fever were to go higher than that, which was for all intents and purposes 101, that we should definitely give her some acetaminophen or what's the other one? Ibuprofen.
Is it?
Yes, yeah. I knew I would get it. I just had to think about it for a while. So it was a guess that Jedi has a virus, or had a virus, and that we wouldn't necessarily have to give her anything until it got worse, or until we knew more. So we were told that we could just let her kind of fight off the infection. At that point then, I went back upstairs and was working, and you had Jedi. Jedi was up.
Yeah, I had her in the closet. We were picking out her clothes, and that's when I noticed at the top of the stairway that she was kind of vacant. Like she wasn't, her eyes were open, but she wasn't there. And then she went limp, like everything just went loose. And that's when I screamed out for Chris.
Yeah, I can't even remember what you said. It was something like, Chris, oh my God. Yeah. I mean, it was just like short sentences, bursts, and that's...
like something was happening.
Yeah. I scaled the gate. In fact, when I went back, I looked, and I was in the middle of a message to someone. I just dropped everything. As soon as I heard Diana, I was like, there's something that's not right. And immediately, I took Jedi, because I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know if she hit her head. I didn't know what was going on, but Jedi was distant. She wasn't there. And I didn't know what was happening, and immediately, I mean, I could just see her, and she kind of started like twitch here, in a couple seconds, and like convulsing, but not like violent convulsing. And I've seen seizures before, and it's something entirely different when this is happening to your baby, your infant. I mean, it was frightening. It was harrowing, and I just, of course, I get antsy really easily, but I was telling Diana, call 911, call 911, call 911. That's all I could say. I didn't know what was going on. I mean, it would be pointless to ask questions, but I just call 911. And then Diana was just, I don't know where my phone is.
I didn't know where it was.
And I was like feeling around. I had my phone, and I tell you, you have every ability to do something when you have a calm and collected mind. But I swear it took me a minute to dial 911 because I had to stop and think. And in the process of thinking, it was flashing through my head. I'm like, this can't be it. No.
Because she wasn't breathing at this point.
She was something wasn't right, and we were just worried because that was the thing. It was the unknown, and this is something that we're past now. Like we have a known quantity. We know what we're dealing with, but at that moment, it was. We didn't know if it was going to get worse. We didn't know what was happening. So I finally got 911 dial. It sounds funny. I mean, it's a simple procedure. 911, you're good. And all I remember then is thinking, who else can I get a hold of? Because inevitably, with an ambulance rolling, it's going to be a few minutes.
I took Jedi, right?
Yeah. You basically, I was trying to concentrate on dialing the number, and you took Jedi.
And then you ran.
Yeah, I basically darted. I was in my socks, yeah, and I started thinking, who do I know? And we know a few healthcare professionals, so I just was running, thinking, okay, hopefully they're home. So I'm just running down the street, but I forgot because the dogs are barking, so I immediately had to turn around and shut the door, and of course Diana, I could just hear her screaming. She's just screaming.
Yeah, I didn't know because at that point, I had laid Jedi down on the floor, and she started turning blue, and in my head, I thought it's, it was no longer than 5 minutes, but it felt like eternity, and I thought to myself, this is way too long for her to not be breathing. I thought this is way too long, and that's when I got desperate, and I just started screaming out the door for help, and for
it was
Chris.
Horrible. I mean,
I didn't. No.
And I couldn't even tell you what I was doing because in my head I'm processing everything, and I'm like, okay, Diana, you got Jedi, and I'm like,
which is so smart of you to do.
Well,
he just took off running for help.
It was like I couldn't. I can't.
I knew in my head that you went for help, but I was still screaming for you because
down the block. It was down the block, and I can hear this blood-curdling scream.
Yeah, because I didn't know if that was her last moments, and
that's exactly what I was thinking. Up the top of the stairs, I didn't know, and that's the worst. That is the absolute worst part: is not knowing and not being able to do anything.
Yeah,
and you're doing everything you possibly can do. So.
There was even a moment where I was so desperate. Wicket was at the door, and I told Wicket to run for help. I said, Wicket, go get help. I was screaming for help. I was just.
So, either way, I just think it's funny.
Yeah, I think you just get to a point where you're just so desperate.
So, apparently, and I wasn't there for this, but I ended up getting, the person was there, and so I was frantic and just ringing the doorbell, pounding the door. I'm just frantic. I could only get out these short sentences like, Jedi's not breathing, something's wrong, we don't know, and that was enough, and I was back, just darting back to get back what was going on. And meanwhile, I'm on the phone with 911, and it was a lifetime, man. A minute was an hour, and it was funny because in getting Jedi in to see someone today, they each asked, well, how long was she unconscious? How long was this happening? And Diana, I think you said, well, 50, you thought 15 minutes. I was like, no, there's no way it could have been that long. And I checked the log, and it was the 911 call from the time that I placed it started, and the time that it ended when she was past the episode. It was less than 4 minutes. So we came back, and at that point I didn't know that Jedi was turning blue or had turned blue, that Diana had started to administer CPR because she didn't know what was going on. By the time I got back from down the street, Jedi was crying.
Yeah.
But she was still very vacant, just distant. She was looking, but there was nobody there, and it was just, I mean, and I'm thinking, what's going on, what do I need to do, no, no. She was breathing, crying. You tried to puff gently, but you only did it a couple times, and then she coughed and was breathing again, and this is apparently what happens is that...
Regurgitated a little.
Right, some spittle, but not like foaming at the mouth that you may have seen if you've seen someone have a seizure or if you've had one. So I could hear the sirens, and I was running down the street. I was just anything to like get more people who knew more than we did to help. And they're just desperately just looking for help. So the feeling of helplessness is the absolute worst. It's the absolute worst. I mean, I would give it anything. And that was the worst part, is just me thinking, is this it? Are these the last moments?
I know.
So the good news is this happens, and there's no long-term brain effects. It can happen. It can happen again. It happens when, it doesn't matter what the temperature is or the fever is. If it jumps, this is what the body does. And the paramedic had explained that sometimes it's the body resetting itself and they may stop breathing. He said he actually went through it with his kid before, and it's very scary. He said, yeah, it's, we do these calls all the time. The best thing we could hear when we come in the door is the child crying. So, she has stranger danger anyway, but so that only, I'm sure, made things worse for her. My hope is that she doesn't remember any of this day, and that I think Diana and I probably got hit the hardest with it, because we're the parents, and we are going to remember it. There's nothing we could do. Febrile.
I can't even say.
Like fever, something that is set on by fever, specifically when the temperature jumps. So either way, so then everything was fine. The paramedics, they were like almost immediately said, it'll be okay. They stuck around for a while, suggested we turn on a shower, like a humidifier of sorts, so to help Jedi kind of get through it. And of course, Jedi was just, oh man, she was just screaming.
Yeah.
But she was fine. She was effectively fine. It was just these 4 minutes of absolute terror, and that's the best way to put it. I mean, just absolute terror. And even then, it's I think the paramedics' job, I think, was more to help the parents than they were. I mean, I joke,
to make sure we were okay,
that
enough to take care of her, I think.
And I said the same thing when we went in. So we ended up taking her, in to make for a peace of mind, if anything. Even though we were pretty much assured this is kind of what it was. The diagnosis every single time has been the same. She's basically going to be going back and forth in the immediate future until it passes, and it could be another couple of days between the ibuprofen and the acetaminophen.
Yeah, I was just thinking, I said, I know your family does humor a lot in tough situations, and I'm starting to do that because I feel like it helps. So we've been kind of joking today and trying to make light of the situation, but I really like that.
It's hard to just think back and put myself back in the moment of just this terror, just absolute terror, and not being able to do anything. And so I even debated, when this was happening, like, oh my God, what's happening? I don't want this to stop. Like, what can I do? And it just felt like I would give anything up just to make things fine. I mean, anything and everything. Honestly, I'm not even joking. In my head, I'm thinking, I'm never going to vlog again. I'm never going to do it. I'm never going to vlog again, because it was just too. It would have been too painful. I don't know or understand how parents who lose their child, how they cope. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. And I was just suddenly faced with that. But immediately it was like a fight or flight, and it was just like, fix it, just do what you need to do to make sure things are fine. It's like, and I tell Diana all the time, like, if something ever happens with Jedi, do not call me. Do not. Like, 911. It's like, don't even think about it. Do not call. And I told you even in the car. Yeah. It's like, just don't. And so as long as we're able to keep her fever contained, and by the way, She's in the second cycle, but she's got a normal temperature. She's been better than she's been all day. She's been sleeping most of the day. Definitely drained. But yeah, her temperature's fine, so she is reacting. They wouldn't even let us go until they knew that her temperature had dropped from where it was when she was admitted, which was when we were up here even debating what we were going to do. The temperature was still saying, on the thermometer, was still saying like 107.
Yeah.
Sorry, 100.7. But she was burning up. Oh, she was so hot. She wasn't even wearing any clothes, but she was so hot. She was so hot. But, by the time I think we got her in, she was at 102 is what they measured it at. And I mean, but she was fine. I mean, apart from the stranger danger, she doesn't know what's going on. She'll start crying. And she doesn't like the doctors at all. So, nothing was done. And then we learned when we were being discharged that apparently back before this time period, they didn't know what this was, and they would go as far as to do blood draws and spinal taps, and then they realized it doesn't help. It doesn't do any good in terms of diagnosis. So I'm very grateful that we never had to go through that. When I was Jedi's age, I was probably already in and out of hospitals for ear infections and tubes. I've always had ear, nose, and throat problems. Always. So, I mean, the worst thing I ever went through in terms of pain is just an ear infection, and I never would want that for Jedi. But this was something that I know of. My parents, I think, would have told me had I gone through something like that. But completely new experience, completely something that we don't want to have repeat. So I told Diana, I said, she has a fever again that's 99, 100. I'm like, just put her on the medicine, man. Because it can happen again. There's no rhyme or reason. It just impacts, allegedly, and I haven't done any research beyond this word of mouth from healthcare professionals, 11%. So this is why I want to talk about it. Number one, because this was our very traumatic day. I think, again, Jedi went through it. I'm just saying, Diana and I went through a lot too, and I don't think she's going to remember it.
Yeah.
I don't think she's going to remember it. If she does, it's just going to be glimpses. That's what happens with childhood. So I also wanted to do this because I'm sure other people out there have gone through the exact same thing, or to let other parents know that this can happen, and it's not life-threatening. It's something where the body's, if it is this type of seizure, the body will recover very swiftly within 5 minutes, and there is no long-term brain effects, no brain damage, nothing was specifically hit there that we know of, and this is the way it is today. And we've been given no indication as to this being something more severe than it might have been with the jump of temperature, which was very, very likely the cause, if not the cause. But there's only so much we know. We weren't necessarily monitoring her temperature that way, 24/7. So anyway, that is today's story. It was an absolutely hellish day. We've been crying. We've been thinking. We've been thankful. That was something that I hope we never have to experience again. And inevitably there are going to be accidents. I mean, this is what happens in life. My dad, when we were texting back and forth, he said, kind of like when your son falls off the RV, which is what I did when I was substantially younger and stupid. I was stupid. This wasn't Jedi's fault, which to me it made it even more painful. It just wasn't her fault necessarily. Kids get sick. But apparently croup will manifest itself as laryngitis if you are an adult, which I didn't know. I mean, I haven't had croup in years, but that would explain why. Because we had it all the time when we were kids. You get a humidifier, make sure it's cleaned every 24 hours, which you do.
Yeah, we have it ready.
Yeah. Things you learn, but things you never want to learn. Thank you again for your support and for listening. And we are going to go eat because I'm hungry.
Yeah. But, I mean, I think we mainly did this so people know not to be as scared as we were, because we had no clue what it was.
But you will be scared.
Yeah. Even now, if it happened again, we would still be scared. But maybe not as scared. Yeah, so, yeah, do your research. We're going to do ours. See you guys tomorrow.
Believe you're asking them. Only they know the answer.
Let's go to bed.
No, let's eat.
Okay, let's eat.